Hi everyone, I'm your teacher Phil, and I'm excited to join you to our next discussion in this course, Purposive Communication, and this is communication for various purposes. Ever wonder how to speak in front of the crowd with confidence? Psych up and cheer up for our next discussion, which is all about oral presentation. While we delve into the outline of our discussion, this is our presentation outline. Our lesson 1 would cover the oral presentation and the underlying topics. We have topic 1 for preparing a speech or oral report, topic 2 delivering the speech, talk or report, topic 3 presenting in groups, and topic 4 overcoming anxiety or stage fright. This is what I told you a while ago in our introduction. We somewhat quench on the strategies on how we could speak in front with confidence, and that on how we could articulate well our thoughts and ideas, especially in front of the public. And in this topic class, we will dive into how we overcome anxiety, and we will dive into how we bang stage fright, while we are considering how or the steps on how to prepare a speech or report or talk. I know for sure you might of course, you are afraid to testify, that somewhat you are afraid to speak in front of the public, or shall we say you are anxious speaking in the public or in front of the public. But don't you worry, as I've said, I am here to guide you or facilitate you into the trails of the English language, specifically speaking in front of a lot of people or in front of the public. Henceforth, let's proceed with our lesson 1. We have here preparing a speech or oral report. I know for sure that there are strategies you have encountered, especially if you are tasked to speak in front in a group specifically for an oral report. But let me give you possible and feasible ways or steps and strategies for you to have a swift presentation or oral report. So let's begin. First off, let's look into the considerations in preparing a speech or talk. Of course, we look into the logistics, logistics. And so, first off, we keep on saying that we need to consider our audience. We need to look into the profile of our audience, of our listeners. We need to look into their specific competencies and level of understanding when it comes to grasping the meaning of our speech. Okay? So fourth, we need to look into the profile of our audience. What are those profiles? We keep on saying we have age, gender, educational backgrounds, religion, economic status, and interest. One of which that you need to consider when it comes to preparing your speech is the interest of your audience, specifically listening to somewhat sparks or tickles their mind. Okay, first off, we need to consider our audience. Of course, it would land into a contrary if we shall be having a talk or a speech, or the content of our talk or our speech would look into menstruation and our audience is men. Okay, I mean gentlemen. So we need to look into those things. Simple things that we need to consider when we are preparing a speech is the logistics, specifically first off, as I've said, the profile of our audience. Okay, will your audience be interested of the topic you will be sharing? Will the audience relate to the topic you will be sharing? Will the audience understand the words you will use? I have experienced this when I was severally invited to speak in front, and much to my desire to use a lot of words in my speech, my audience do not understand or cannot even understand what I'm trying to say because of the highfalutin words. So we need to consider those things. Leverage the words and leverage your diction and the context of your speech. Okay, next, speaking of context, we need to look into the logistics. As I kept telling a while ago, sometimes we need to look into the tools, the available equipments and materials that we may use in presenting or in having our speech. Okay, what are under this logistics? We have venue. Okay, you should secure to yourself the conduciveness of the venue. Also, you should look into whether or not the venue is an open area or a closed room. Okay, wherein if it is an open area, you should use microphones in instances where your audience should hear your speech. Okay, should there be chances that you need to elevate the volume of your voice, okay, those things, because of this influence which we call venue under your logistics. Also, as I've said, should there be possible materials or facilities that could aid your speech delivery? Examples: should you be using microphones because it is available on hand? Are there projectors? Should there be presentations for you to deliver well, and that your audience would understand the things that you will be sharing? Should there be chances, or should there be opportunities where you may present illustrations, pictures, or statistics? Later on, we'll be discussing about that. Okay, so look into some facilities. Are there podiums? Okay, so there are things that you need to consider. It's very difficult, to present a speech in front while holding a lectern. Lectern, the copy of your speech, while you having not, or you standing just by in front or at the center without any podium. At some moment, there are audiences which would think of these things. Oh, he or she did not memorize, or even did not familiarize his or her speech or the content of her speech. So some audience would be on that thinking. So look into the facilities and look into your venue. Okay? Of course, much to the presentation or to the preparation of the logistics and say for example, the logistic, the venue and the facilities, and of course the considerations when it comes to the profile of your audience, there should always be time for you to look into the content of your speech and lecture or talk. Okay, you should put attention or spare time into crafting well or weaving well your speech so that it would be beautifully crafted or presented soon enough. Okay, you should look into again your purpose in delivering your reporter speech. Are you persuading, presenting, just merely presenting, or you are actually entertaining your audience? Is the context of the lecture or the speech a conference, a convention, or training seminar? Should we be very formal on that matter, or should we be very informal or semi-informal, or whatsoever type of speeches there are? Okay, more of which sometimes, as based on my experience, I would share this, that the content of our speech would anchor to any given topic, especially if it's a special occasion or event, any given topic or any given theme. Okay, any given theme of the event. So more likely you would anchor or you would align your speech to the theme or the topic I should say, the theme, or most recommendedly, you should anchor your topic to the theme or the topic given to you once you are invited. Okay? So those are the major considerations while we are preparing our speech. Next, we move to the tips in preparing a speech. I'll be giving you some tips on how to prepare a speech. Okay? First off is that you must read a lot. Many are the things you will say if there are many things accounted in your mind which you have read. That is why some of my English teachers and my former principal back in our high school level, even early in the morning, we should read, because there's beauty in reading. We could say a lot of things if we have read also a lot of things, or letters, they say. They would also say that you cannot pour water from an empty glass, okay, or empty cup. So always come to think that you cannot share things if you don't have those things. So you should read and read so that there will be a lot of things which you can share. Okay? Next tip is that you should prepare for your oral presentation with this structure. You have the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. Okay? How could we be engaging with our speech by means of this structures of our speech? Okay, Here are the things or techniques for us to open and to close our presentation. First off, we may use startling or shocking statements, okay, such as um, thought-provoking questions. Okay, we may use those things. Okay, moving on to the next tip, we have beginning with a question, or just like what I've said a while ago, you may begin with thought-provoking questions, or shall we say rhetorical questions, such as, do you believe in life after death? Okay, those are thought-provoking or rhetorical questions that you may use as you start your speech or as you have your delivery of speech. Next, using of quotations. Most of the time, I would use this strategy using quotations from my favorite authors or writers. Okay, so which are also related to the topic I'll be discussing or I'll be sharing in my speech. So that could also be a possible thing for you to start your presentation or your speech or your talk. Next, we have narrating an anecdote or a story. I also use this. I could remember things back when I was still a toddler. The rain is dropping like it's free, and the grass is just dancing by the breeze. Okay, those are examples of anecdotes or stories that I have had. Okay, sometimes I would also use that strategy, especially in writing essays or speeches and talks. Okay, so you may also use anecdotes or stories, or basically others have taught you or have shared you wrong, or stories that you have read also. So that could be possible in delivering a speech. Of course, you may also sing a line from a song which is related. I have used that strategy also. Or if you are not good at singing, you may play at least a short line of the song and then you would relate the speech on that. Okay, just like what I've said, you may use facilities, you may use your logistics. Okay, you may also present statistics. I have also used this strategy once when I was invited as a speaker. Okay, I have presented strategies, and one of which I would also share is that, which is not in your presentation, is you may present short video clips. Okay, you may present short video clips when you are having your introduction. Okay, of course, for your body, that would be the content of your speech. Okay, basically, I would always advise or give advice to my students, even in my first year of teaching, that when you craft or write the body of your speech, make sure to at least share. Okay, specifically if it's extemporaneous speaking. Okay, make sure that they give 3 points. Okay, and then in that or in those, and then in those 3 points, and then in those 3 points, you need to elucidate those points one by one. Okay, so you have your introduction. You may use all the strategies I have shared a while ago, and then for your introduction, you may use all the strategies I have shared a while ago, and then for the body, you may give 3 points, elucidate that point. Okay, or those points, you may give 3 points, elucidate those points, and for your conclusion, summarize and give the bottom line or the banging ending of your speech. There's a need also for you to put or have a bang in your introduction. Okay, so that you would immediately hook the attention of your listeners. Okay. Speaking of introduction class, moreover about introduction, there are gambits that we may use, or sentence starters. Okay, gambits or expressions or sentence starters that we may use for the craftsmanship of our speech, such as, I would like to talk about the casualties of the typhoon. Okay, I believe that the topic is all about mental health. Okay, those examples. Let me relate a story, a personal story from my childhood stage into the present times. Okay, those are examples. Other gambits also for our conclusion, we have here summing up the points I have shared or I've discussed earlier. To summarize, in conclusion, to conclude, finally, to conclude, finally, and to end my talk or speech. Okay, those are gambits for your conclusions. Okay, I would also like to share one of the pieces of advice which I could lay down in our discussion, that you should use transitional devices. Okay, transitional devices whenever you will be writing your speech or talk. I promise you, when you use transitional devices such as furthermore, moreover, um, running away from this issue, on the other side of the bridge, okay, those examples, okay, you may have, I promise you, you may have a swift and beautiful speech, okay? Next, I'm speaking by experience now of the things which I could relate in our discussion. Third of our tips in preparing a speech is that we need to rehearse or practice. We may practice aloud, or we may practice in front of the mirror, and then, or else we may practice in front of a family member, your mother, your father, or any member of your family, and then you elicit, okay, elicit feedback based on your presentation, so that at least you may know where to improve or where are the rooms for improvement. Okay, rehearse. Okay, there is a need for you to rehearse your speech. Okay, of course, since we are now down into a generation of the technological advancement, we may use also technology. Some examples are already stated a while ago. With the usage of technology, we may use speakers, microphones, projectors, video clips, sounds or music, the clip of the music, and so forth. Okay, presentations of the statistics, we may use our laptop, our projector, or any TV or any LED or whatsoever that we may use for us to aid our visual presentation or audio-visual presentation or audio presentation or whatsoever presentation, type of presentation, which could aid our speech. Okay, use technology. Okay, we now move to delivering the report or speech. Of course, those are the things. A while ago, we discussed of the things of the preparatory or preliminaries on delivering a speech. What are the things that we need to consider or we need to look into while we are preparing? But now, we look into the during of the speech, which means we are now into delivering the speech, the report, or talk. Okay? Speaking of the delivery, there's a need for us to consider paralinguistic cues. Okay? What are paralinguistic cues? Those are subsumed under the category of our facial expressions, postures, gestures, and movements. There's a need for us also to incorporate, okay, facial expressions to present or to be more genuine, somewhat to be more realistic with our presentation. Of course, there's a need for you to consider your proper posture and gestures or bodily movements or kinesthetics. Okay, there's a need for you to give proper weight of eye contact also. Okay, eye contact. This is again a tip from a speaker. Okay, from a speaker. I know I'm still practicing to become a great speaker, but this is one of my practices. If I'm afraid or I'm shy, looking into my audience eye to eye, I look at their forehead. Seems like I'm also looking their eyes, but I'm actually looking at their forehead. So that could be one of the tips that I may share with you. Okay. Next, we have our posture. There's a need for us to stand straight, stand tall, stand confident, and then chin up, breast out, and then show your audience that you are confident. Because if you are not confident, it would appeal on by means on how you stand in front. Okay, so stand tall and confident, then smile to your audience. Okay, that would show your credibility, or that would show the possession of your credibility as the speaker. Give proper projection. Okay. Of course, gestures. There are proper ways for us to incorporate gesture. Take note when you're delivering a speech, please do not point them using your pointing finger like this, but you may do like this, you, we, okay? So do not point your fingers. So do not point your fingers to your audience like that, okay? And of course, if you have already moved forward, do not move backward, okay? That would appeal like you are not sincere, or else you are not actually confident on the things you are saying in front. So there are strategies on how to move forward. There are proper ways or proper time for us to move forward, especially if we are now moving forward to our topic. Okay, those are the strategies also, or ways or cues for us on how to step on our feet when we are delivering a speech. There are lots of gestures actually that I may share it with you while you are doing your presentation, while I'll be pinching in some recommendations soon in your presentation. Next, we have the prosodic feature. Under prosodic feature speaks about our pronunciation, enunciation of words. Okay, I could still remember my English teacher back then in elementary when am actually tasked to speak in front. He would give the copy of my speech with splashes. You know, splashes. She splashed all the phrases so that I could have post. Okay, proper posting, she would say. Okay, so that's under prosodic feature. Like this. This is also under prosodic feature, blending the phrases so that it would sound better than that of common pronunciation. Instead of saying to each his own, okay, it's very difficult to pronounce it like that. To each his own, to each his own. Okay, instead of saying like that, we may say to each his own. We may say to each his own. Okay, as easier and as more swift and beautifully sounding. Okay, next, instead of saying the pros and cons, okay, the pros and cons, we have posting, right? Why don't we say the pros and cons? The pros and cons. Okay, next, instead of saying the splendor in the grass, the splendor in the grass, we may say the splendor in the grass. The splendor. Okay, we blend e, the sound e, and sound s or s. The splendor in the grass. Okay, next we have for a while. Instead of saying for a while, we may say for a while. For a, mixing for and a sound, so for a while. Okay, so those are examples under prosodic features. Some examples might also be laid out as I've said, as I pinch in, or I will be pinching into your presentation soon. Okay, next, presenting in groups. I know this is very common to present in groups. As I've said, you might have strategies already that you are applying when you are presenting by groups, such as the things that you have applied when I asked you to become the synthesizers of the models of communication. But there are things for us to prepare, or tips or notes for us to prepare for our group presentation. Of course, as I've said, and what we have practiced, we need to assign a specific task to each member, okay, so that there will be division, okay, so that there will be division of the topics and subtopics. Next, we need to divide the work accordingly, okay, and make sure that each of your members should know the parts, okay, they are assigned into, okay? And there's a need for you to look into the chronomics, okay. So there's a need for you to consider the time allotted in each of the specific divisions you have spared to each of the member in the group. Okay, next, you should decide of a strategy on how to begin or end your presentations. You may start by you may start by introducing yourself. Some others, I have experienced this when I was in my first year of teaching. They have had a short skit first before they proceed to their presentation, and they will be presenting the helical model of communication. That could be a good example. They have their short skit or short role play. You may also prepare audiovisual aids such as PowerPoint presentations, music, backgrounds, or whatsoever, so that it would aid your presentation or group presentation. And of course, you need to practice by your own, and then come up with a schedule or acceptable or amenable for each one of you to rehearse as a group, and then elicit feedback from each of your teammates so that you could adjust and you could elevate the quality of your group presentation. Okay? Moreover, as individual and group presenters, of course, sometimes I always do this. That's why, if you have noticed, I would always ask by questions, so that it would become still an interaction between the teacher and the students. I would always ask questions. I would always back in and ask for questions whenever they are needed. So you should think of possible questions to be thrown in your group presentations, especially in your presentations of research and whatsoever. As individuals and groups, you should respond effectively with the questions during that time, and you should know every bit of your report. Okay, we are now down into the last subtopic of this lesson. We have overcoming anxiety or stage fright. Okay, Says here, many speakers become tense when making small or big presentations, and I would accept that it is actually normal, as it is stated there, because if you are nervous, because becoming nervous only shows that you really care about your presentation. So if you are nervous now of your 3-minute speech, that means you are thoughtful and you care for your presentation. Okay, note that a little amount of nervous tension is needed if you aspire to become an excellent performer, okay, or excellent speaker. I could attest that, especially during my first time in speaking in front, I am actually having my cracking head and my shaky hands and feet because I am too nervous. That's normal, okay, especially if you're beginning to speak in front and practicing to speak in front, okay. But along the way, you will experience, or you will soon feel that you are now comfortable speaking in front. One of my practices would be doing like this exercise, okay, moving my phalanges, the tip of my fingers, so that it could ease my anxiousness, okay, or it could ease how nervous I am. Okay, I do not jump because it adds to the tension. I do not drink a lot of water because it also adds to the tension. So that would also be one of the tips. I move my fingers or exercise my fingers like this, and then I would exhale and inhale. Okay. Let me end this discussion by sharing with you the quotations of my friends in 1956 by Eugene White and Claire Hinderlinder, saying, "We do not actually fear the process of speaking, but the negative response from the listeners." Okay? Don't think of the negative things they will be sharing or telling you after your presentation. Just do your best and show your thoughts, because you are given the right to speak your thoughts in front of the public and battle for stage fright so that you would have a swift presentation by and by. For our conclusion, your oral report or speech needs planning. That's why I have given you the preparations or tips. Needs researching also and rehearsing. Okay? Always bear in mind to do paralinguistic and prosodic features in delivery or in the delivery of your speech while maintaining a good sense of confidence and communication skills. Most importantly, as for your audience feedbacks, as this will serve to be your basis in improving or enhancing your future speaking performances. So that would be all for our discussion for the first topic in our semifinals. Again, I'm your teacher Fel, thanking you for listening. And if should there be questions, do not hesitate to drop them in our group chat, in the group page also. You may comment you may drop your questions in the comment section or in your GC's per section. Thank you for listening, goodbye, and have a nice day ahead.